Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Henry. I'm here from the Kent Invicta Chamber of Commerce. Welcome to Business Bites. It's the first one of 2026, and we're certainly starting it with a bang, talking about AI. I don't think we could have picked a more relevant topic at the moment. I am delighted to be joined by Martin from BCS, Business Computer Solutions, today. He's going to be the one delivering this session to you all. Just a couple of quick bits of admin before we do kick off. For those of you that have just joined the session, if you could rename yourself to your full name and your company name, that would be amazing. And if you do have any questions throughout the session, please do put these in the chat and we'll address those in a dedicated session at the end. There are also going to be a couple of polls that will pop up throughout the session. Martin will be coordinating that, so he'll mention it and then the poll should appear. So please do also make sure that you are voting in those. So that is enough rambling from me. I'm now going to pass you over to Martin. Martin, over to you.
Thanks, Henry. Good morning, everyone. Thanks for joining our session today around AI. Just to give you a bit of an overview of what we're looking to cover today, we're going to show you a little bit of what AI can do, but also we're going to go a little bit back to basics in terms of what you should be looking for when you're implementing an AI strategy for your business. Here's a brief look at the agenda, if this will click on. So we're going to give you a brief intro into BCS. I know we've got some customers in the room as well, so you already know about us. We're going to cover a little bit on AI trends. I'm going to give you some popular AI use cases that we've seen in our experience so far and also ourselves. We're going to have a bit of a tool focus around Microsoft Copilot Chat and Microsoft Agents. There's some really exciting stuff coming from Microsoft that we want you to be aware of. We're going to talk a little bit about the BCS AI framework. So that's going to talk about where you should be starting, how you should develop kind of a secure adoption of AI. And then we're going to have a Q&A session. So as Henry alluded to earlier, if you've got any questions that pop out throughout, if you could just send them to him and then we'll do our best to kind of get through. We've got 30 minutes in total today, so I'm aiming to do the presentation about 20 minutes, 20 minutes to allow plenty of time for questions. So a little bit about BCS. So we're an IT managed service provider based in sunny Ramsgate with 20 staff. We are 100% employee owned. It's something a little bit different from us. Since 2018, we've been employee owned. We're one of the top 15 UK IT providers, an award that we won fairly recently. So I just wanted to start things off because I know we've got a certain amount of people in the room, just to kind of get a bit of a flavour for where people are at the moment. So we're going to start, Henry, if it's all right, with the first poll, which is who's using at least one AI tool currently in their business? I'd be very surprised if there are any no's in this, but there might be. Okay.
There we go.
Brilliant.
Can you see the results there, Martin?
Yeah, I can see the results. Brilliant. So next one then. So the next one I want you to think about, do you know who exactly is using what tool in your business? Do you feel like you know this? You're confident to say everyone in your business, you know what tools they're using and how? Brilliant. Very interesting one. And that's kind of very similar to kind of the data we're seeing wider in the industry as well. So next one as well. Is anyone inputting any customer information into popular tools like ChatGPT, Gemini? That could even be, I've had this email from a customer. Can you put me a reply for it? Or some kind of sensitive tender document that you're then putting into a tool to then get it to analyze it for you. Is anyone currently doing that in their business? Oh, we still got Henry?
Yep, that's that one done.
That one didn't pop up for me for some reason.
we had 9
Oh, there we go.
yeses.
Okay, cool. Okay. That's mostly good. And then the last one that I'm going to ask you today is who currently has an AI policy in their business? So most people should have policies across their business. So who's got a specific AI policy around its use?
There we are, about
Okay.
39
Okay.
seconds.
Interesting. Interesting. Brilliant. Well, thanks everyone for partaking in this poll. So why does this matter? Oh, goodness. So what you don't want is data exiting the business in an uncontrolled way. So before we had all of these like smart tools, most of the data that was being used in the business would be within the prescribed tools of the business. So the stuff that was already under the existing governance and security of your business. Whereas now, most people have personal ChatGPT accounts or Gemini accounts. So what we're seeing is that in businesses, people are using their personal accounts to input company data to be able to get the responses they need to help them do their job. So what's happening now is data, whether you know it or not, is going out of the business in lots of different ways into lots of different unregulated platforms. The next point. So as I mentioned earlier, most of you guys will have an IT provider. Most of your tools will be fully documented. There'll be plans for where data is, how it's backed up, the restrictions in terms of who has access to what. Whereas as soon as we're now opening up more places for that data to go, and less visibility of it, it starts to become a security concern. Unmanaged accounts, so saying earlier where you have different users using personal accounts for ChatGPT, Gemini, Grok, all of these different platforms makes it very, very difficult for IT providers to manage these kind of things. The other thing as well is that these tools become very difficult to centrally manage. So if you think most people will be using something like Google within their business or Microsoft 365, so we use Microsoft 365, most of our customers do. So it's really easy for us to centrally manage that. So what I mean by that is if we want to secure something down, we go into one console, we can define what level of security we want to apply, whether it's password policy, screen lockout, and then we can just apply that to everyone. So then when you get a new user, everyone is running the same level of security and it's fully managed. Whereas what happens now, where you're having different people using their personal accounts, we don't then have visibility of that, or your IT provider doesn't have visibility of that, and you don't, especially with people using their personal accounts. So it becomes very difficult to manage. Loss of intellectual property, one is very important as well. So software companies, we've seen a lot hit by this, where what things like ChatGPT can do is it can actually write code for you. So we've had some software companies where they'll say, right, we've got this bit of existing code, which is their code. Can you add this for us? So then it will then add it for them. But then what they've then done is shared that code with the model. That's their intellectual property, which obviously becomes a massive problem. If you're trying to adhere to things like GDPR and compliance and things like this can start to undermine that. You can end up someone, for instance, if they're using their personal ChatGPT account in the office, they input some customer data into that, and then that then becomes accessible by someone else in the model because they haven't turned off the shared setting. That then can be a breach. And then when you're found out that there's a breach and this kind of information that only you had has gone out there, it becomes very difficult to diagnose where that breach happened because we don't have full control essentially managing those kind of systems. So in terms of AI training in the industry at the moment, the trend is only about 27% of people have had some kind of AI training or education. Reason why that can be a problem, and that's not just education in terms of how you use the platform. This is almost like an education around the business risks. So what we're finding already is that everyone's got these tools turned on already. AI adoption, I was looking at some statistics the other day, and they were talking about platforms in history and in terms of how long it took them to reach 50 million users. You've got everything from the telephone, which took sort of 70 years, to the internet, which took 5 years. Then ChatGPT took 2 months to reach 50 million users. So this is kind of an unprecedented level of adoption. So it's kind of, this is still very new. People are turning on all of these tools because of how powerful they are, but they're not going back a few steps to actually work out what they need to put in place in the first place to make sure that when they're delivering AI in their business, they're doing it in a secure and controlled way. Also, by not having a full education around AI, it can be very easy to spend a lot of time and resource in the wrong areas. Whereas actually, if you go back a few steps, understand a little bit more about what the potential has for AI, you can then start thinking, right, I'm going to spend money and some internal resource here. How can I maximize the value of that time and that money? Clumsy use of AI. So a lot of people just trust stuff inherently. We've seen people that will just say, well, I didn't proofread that because, well, it's ChatGPT. It's going to be more right than I am. But, what we know is a lot of what AI does is quite broad sort searching. So it's pulling data from lots of different sources like Reddit and stuff where we know you can get inaccurate information. So it's about having an education, so making sure all your end users know if they are using things like ChatGPT, Gemini or Copilot, that they're actually proofreading it, that they're actually looking at it to make sure that the data that they're putting in those emails that are going to customers are accurate. Major changes in job roles. So without really understanding what's coming with AI, have you actually taken some time to think what your recruitment strategy looks like over the next 12 months? And is that being impacted by AI? Are these jobs that you're building out in terms of job specs, do you need to have a look at them and start thinking, well, actually, this job that I was going to put out next quarter, probably looking at that, I could probably automate half of that, or I could probably use some level of AI that's going to make that a part-time role. So it's getting people thinking in these kind of ways. Also goes into the AI education piece. Without the education, you'll end up being a slow adopter of AI. We are still very at the early stages of where the potential is going to be, but you don't want to fall behind in your industry. So where to start? So there are lots of tools out there. So the first thing I will say is look at your existing technology. If you're kind of quite deep into Google and you're using Google Docs and a lot of the Google infrastructure, it probably makes sense to kind of like start exploring that. If you're using Copilot, for example, if you're using Microsoft Stack, for example, you've got Microsoft 365, you're using SharePoint, Windows Server and all of those kind of applications, I would probably suggest starting looking at the existing Microsoft Stack. Also, the other thing that's worth mentioning is talk to your other software providers. So we look after a whole load of different types of businesses in different industries using, 200 plus different types of software. You've got stuff from account software where there are loads of different flavors. You've got industry specific software that people use depending on what industry you're in. What we would recommend is when was the last time you reached out to those software providers to see what's on their roadmap? What are they doing from an AI point of view? What's around the corner? So you can be prepared from it to make sure you're getting the maximum from the tools that you're using. Also recommend look for tools that can be centrally managed. So, when sometimes we walk into business and we'll see, we've got people using personal accounts for Gemini, for ChatGPT, and it's all over the place. We recommend, right, actually, let's just get people using something like, if you're using a Microsoft Stack, for example, that has Copilot Chat built into it, which is essentially built on the ChatGPT engine. But if you can get everyone using that, it means it's all under their existing Microsoft 365 account. And it means that we can centrally manage it as an IT provider. So all the security features and everything like that that sits on top of it, you get that peace of mind. And it takes away that risk of everyone using their personal accounts, putting all the data, all of these unmanaged, unseen silos that can cause a breach. And it's not a one size fits all. So with this, there isn't kind of an out of the box solution that's going to, work for everyone straight away. It's about understanding your business, what the high admin, we'll talk about a bit of a checklist later, but identifying things like high admin areas of your business, what can be automated, what can't, what stuff still needs a bit of a human touch and which bits don't. So we're going to have a bit of a tool focus. There are a lot of tools out there. I think Microsoft is probably the most popular one. So we're going to focus a little bit on Copilot today. So Copilot agents are essentially, we've got a demo lined up where we'll show you, but essentially this is where we talk about something like ChatGPT, where you'll ask it a prompt. Can you create me a LinkedIn post, for example? You have to be quite specific with the guidance that you're giving it to get the kind of answer that you want. And it will still, again, go out into the web, pulling all different types of sources. The thing with Copilot agents and the way that it works is that you can develop them to be what you want, to look at the data that you want, to talk to you in the tone that you want. So, for example, you create a marketing agent, and you could get it to just point at your marketing folder. Yeah. So if you've got a big SharePoint directory of all your old marketing, if you've got a branding guidelines document that says, what kind of font you need, what kind of language you want to speak to your customers at, what all of your kind of like key selling points are, all of the rest of it, it will then reference that. You can say, right, I don't want you to look at Reddit. I want you to just look at our website for content and our LinkedIn. So that way, when you're then asking the agent to create you content, it can be a lot more specific to your business and it's more likely to be right first time. So these are things that live next to your other apps in Teams. So if you've got Microsoft Teams, when you develop these apps, it's not like a separate pane of glass. You can all do it within your existing Teams instance. So with these things, it's not an out-of-the-box solution that's right first time. You develop it as you go along. So, for example, I was at a breakfast group the other day, and they were talking about AI pros and how AI pros, because it's based on the American language, it uses things that aren't typically found in the UK. So M dashes, for example. So like you've got a hyphen, an N dash, and an M dash. So an M dash, when you see someone posting some LinkedIn content with a load of M dashes, you kind of think, oh, that's definitely AI generated. And you kind of want to avoid that because you still want to have a little bit of the human touch. So, for example, in your agent, you go into the back end and you just say, when generating content, never use an M dash. So you realize these things as you go along and you get the agent to a certain level and it's generating good content for you. But then one week it might spit something out that's not quite good. And you just think, right, actually, I don't want to do that. You go back into the agent and you add an instruction or a command to it that then gets built into that. And then that will just carry forward. And then anyone else in the business that's then using that marketing agent, for example, will get that updated result. So as I said earlier, you can limit the access of these agents. That's kind of what the advantage of it is. So very specific content that you want it to get. The other really good thing about the marketing agents is its ability to link to other tools to create workflows that are going to save you time. Because there's one thing generating content, but if you can also get an agent to do actions for you, it adds a whole different dimension. So one of the demos and what we're going to show you is that we use a tool for our marketing called Buffer. Essentially, Buffer is a tool whereby we can connect all of our socials and we can create posts and we can put them on a schedule. So rather than every time you want to do a post, you go into LinkedIn, you post it, you queue it up. I'm sure there's going to be some people on this call that have used similar tools. So part of our sort of AI journey, we looked in to see if there was some kind of integration with Copilot agents, and we found that there was. So essentially, we've set up our marketing agent as well to point at our branding guidelines, to point at all of our marketing that we've created to date, so that the agent knows kind of where we're aiming for with the type of responses we want. We've also got it linked now to our Buffer. So within the chat prompt, we can say, generate me a LinkedIn post, and we can say, can you post this for me? And it will do it all within Teams as part of this agent. And you can create lots of custom workflows as well for it. You can create triggers, for example. So you could say, right, when someone uploads a file to the proofing folder on SharePoint, I want this marketing agent to review it, yeah, or have a look at it and see if it can turn it into something better, or just like a small example. But it's kind of when you understand what's capable, what the potential is of these agents, you understand your business and your industry, you can then start to lay down the foundations of how you want these tools to look in your business. So now we're doing a short demo. We did toy around with the idea of doing a live demo, but we thought that was kind of fraught with danger. And we didn't want to end up, because these are going out as a recording, share any customer data. So hopefully this will kind of go all right. So this essentially is what the normal Copilot chat window looks like. And what I wanted to just show you here is that the idea is we want to get, if you're using Microsoft, for example, we want to get to a stage where we're stopping everyone in your business using unregulated tools like Gemini, ChatGPT, get them through your own Teams instance to be able to create content. So this is just a generic, it's called Copilot Chat. It's similar to what you're using already if you're going into websites like Gemini or ChatGPT, and it will just generate normal content for you. So this is something that we would encourage you to start pushing everyone towards. The next bit that we're going to show, I'll just forward it on a little bit, is the agent side of things. So this is how you build an agent. So as you can see here from the demo, there is actually a prompt base to help you get started with building an agent. So you start in there and you can see here about what we want to do here. So Chris has actually typed in here about creating a LinkedIn post. So let's speed that along a little bit. So here you can see in the back end, Chris has put, sorry. So this is what the screen looks like for an agent in the background. So you can see you've got a bit of an overview where you say what the tool is going to do. And you can see down here in the instructions section, we've put down here what we want it to do. So you can see here, we say here, don't use M dashes, avoid use referring to us as BCS 365. We are Business Computer Solutions. So you can see here, we're educating this model as we go along. And I would expect that in a couple of months' time, this is going to be much bigger and much further developed. So the type of outputs we're going to get are going to be much more interesting. As we go along here, so you can see here, this is the tool where you can select what data it can reference. So you can pick specific websites that you want it to look at or just specific directories. There are loads. When you click on the sort of full C integrations, there are like hundreds out there. So if you're using a particular niche bit of software, it's worth having a look to see if there is any kind of integrations out of the box for you. So this here, we would sort of select public websites. So we would say, right, marketing agent, you can just look at the BCS website. SharePoint, we will say you can just look at the SharePoint directory. You can see down here, you've got other tools. So that's where we've put in our buffer tool. So this is our third-party posting tool. So you can see here where we've set that up in the background. And then this is now going into buffer itself. So what we're showing here is that prompt that we typed in earlier will populate in the background of buffer, ready to go to be posted onto LinkedIn. So here is just to show you where in your Teams instance you will find chat. So if you see down on the left-hand side, you'll see there's a Copilot button. So when you do that here, which will come down here in a second, going back to the chat window, once you've created your agents and you're up and running with them, you can then tag them. So for instance, we've got our marketing agent. We've set that up now. So we've tagged it in there. And now we're asking, create and schedule a LinkedIn post that I believe Chris, when he did the demo, is about this webinar that we're doing today. Just that along a little bit. So then it generates it and it's created the hashtags for us as well, because as part of the instruction, we said for every LinkedIn post, we want to have some hashtags. Now we're going back to buffer to see, has that actually populated from Teams? And we can see it has, and it's ready to go. So essentially that is what a Copilot agent looks like. I was going to come up with a few different suggestions to get you thinking as well. So an HR agent could be a potential as well. So we spoke about a marketing one. So what you can do is you can create a marketing agent an HR agent, but you can get it just to point to your staff handbook, just to start point to all of your policies and information. You can get it to potentially integrate to any HR platform that you use that's got access to Holiday. So then, for example, imagine everyone's got access. They can go into the chat, tag the HR agent of your business, and they can say, how many annual leave days do I have left? Or what is our policy on, I don't know, pensions? Or what's our policy on paternity leave? So the idea being behind, if you've got a lot of people in your business and your HR department is getting asked lots of these kind of questions all of the time, you're then being able to kind of automate that response, give people the power to self-serve and save time. So we've covered a couple of bits around kind of agents and Copilot chat. So the next thing is about building a framework. So this is, at the moment, most people have turned tools on in their business without starting at the basics. So what are the basics? What are the first steps? So what we would recommend as first step is having an AI review. So have a look at the existing tools that you're looking at actually at your business, who's using them, do a bit of a risk analysis on them as well. The next thing we would say is put together some kind of AI policy. So our AI policy looks a little bit something like, what AI tools you can use, the risks associated with it, the policies that we have for approving new tools as well, and not assuming things like everything in AI is going to be true. So it's almost like a bit of an education piece as well. By the time someone's reviewed your AI policy and signed their name to it, we're hoping that they're going to be a little bit more educated in terms of the risks. The other thing, as well as having a policy, is having the tools to be able to enforce them. So, for instance, you've said that in your policy that people are signing, that you don't want them to use unapproved business apps in their business for AI. what are you going to do to be able to stop them still going into Gemini in a web browser and putting customer information out there? So what we recommend as well is using tools to be able to restrict that use. So we'll have any unapproved AI tools in our business, we have blocked by default. So if I went on my laptop and I tried to go into Gemini, it would just be blocked. And then that then is just pushing people to go through, for instance, Copilot Chat, which is kind of our tool of choice, which is centrally managed. And then we don't want to stifle AI. So the thing that we recommend is having a proper approval process for new tools. So if you've got someone in your marketing department that's found a new tool that they think is going to kind of improve the quality of your business or save you time or save you money, we want to have a process for being able to review that tool. So we would say, send it to us. We'll have a look at it. We'll check to see whether or not that tool is secure. Can we centrally manage it? Do a bit of a risk analysis on it for you. We can then present that to you and you can make the decision whether or not you approve that tool and for who. The other thing that we recommend before deploying any AI tools, because of how powerful they are, is having a review of security and permissions. If you're going to get give AI access to like your SharePoint directory, you just want to be very careful that the right people have got the right level of access. Lots of people come and go in businesses. You know, there can be mistakes happen where someone has access to a folder that they shouldn't do. And you might have got away with that before, but now people are using these very powerful search engines in the business. You don't want someone to get to a point where it's like, right, can you show me any file that's got the word bonus in it, for example, and then someone then ends up having access to a file that they shouldn't have done. So we'd always recommend before turning on these tools, have a big review of security and permissions in your business. Use case analysis. So one thing that we've done in our business is just having a little bit of a look into where are the high admin areas of your business. Because essentially one of the main values AI at the moment is being able to save in terms of a high admin. So until you know what those areas are, the kind of like the strategic plan for AI use is not going to be as effective. Trying to work out what problems AI can solve. Are you looking at sort of areas of your business where you can improve customer experience? Is it just about cost? Is it about quality output in the content that you're creating? And then establishing what tools could be best for your business. Education, so having a bit of a gap analysis, trying to work out where the levels are at the moment and trying to work out who needs to understand what. If you're going to try and make the move to getting people to use Copilot Chat, for example, making sure that everyone's done the sort of short Microsoft training that's available on it so that they're up and running in your business when you're making these changes. We also recommend having a bit of an AI adoption team. So creating some sort of key people in the business that you're going to test this on. Maybe you're just going to have a little bit of a project across in your HR department to see what you can sort of automate or save as a bit of a pilot. So working out who's going to get involved. We also recommend having some targets. So, right, it's going to cost us this much in kind of tools to get this up and running. We understand that there's probably about, maybe 50 hours of admin a month that we reckon we could save, which is in monetary terms X. We're going to set a target that over the next 6 months, we want to shave 30% off of this admin, which is going to save us so much. So building in some kind of quantifiable KPIs. I'm conscious that I think I'm going a little bit over, which those that know me know that I do. So I'm going to try and quickly rattle through this recap. So AI is a powerful tool. It is accelerating at a rate of knots. But the thing that we want to say to people is that like this is just opening up just so much more possibilities for data breaches and to compromise your data. So we just want to make sure that this is done in a very controlled way. We recommend business in AI that address their needs and the current usage. We want to develop a way for people to manage access to these tools and make sure that everything's documented so that you can deliver AI in a controlled way. So yeah, AI, to recap, it's not a one and done. It's a continual process. You're not going to get an IT company come in and just implement AI for you. We just want to get you up and running. We want to make sure that it's done in a kind of secure and measured way and that we can help you implement as you're coming up with the best ideas and applications for your own businesses. I think I've taken most of the time, Henry, sorry. So I'm over to questions now.
Perfect, Martin. Thank you so much. A
Awesome.
really, really interesting session into AI and the adoption of it, specifically some early case adoption. So, yeah, we are running bang on time for the webinar. However, if anyone did have a quick question that they wanted to ask, feel free to unmute and ask away if there was anything specific. Now is your chance. No, it looks like Martin, you must have covered absolutely everything then. If anyone should have any questions at all, Martin, what's the best way of connecting with you to ask these questions?
Oh, yeah. So, sorry, one thing I would say is some of the follow-on bits that we're offering. So we've got some AI resources on our website if you want to check us out and have a look on there. We've got lots of blog posts. We are offering AI readiness assessments as well, where we just have a little bit of a deeper look into sort of how you're using AI at the moment. We are offering mini audits to your business as well, and just any general advice. If you want to connect to me, just scan that on LinkedIn. Probably the best way to reach me. Send me a message on LinkedIn with any follow-up questions you have, and I'd be more than happy to help.
Perfect. Martin, thank you so much. And thank you to everybody else who has joined us for today's Business Bites webinar. That brings us nicely to the end of the session. So I've been Henry from the Kent and Victor Chamber of Commerce. And again, thank you. Have a fantastic rest of your day. Take care.
Brilliant. Thank you very much.